Hello, and welcome to the Days of Yore. Today, we'll be speaking about the Adriatic, a ship built on Beaubears Island in 1856, and one that was wrecked in 1882 in the Straits of Belle Isle between Newfoundland and Labrador. So, we'll begin, as I always do, by saying that I'm not really an expert, and I'm really presenting to you for narrative purposes. So my sources today come mostly from the British Newspaper Archive and also from our local newspapers here in Miramichi. And so let's begin. So the Adriatic was built at the Harley and Birchall shipyard in 1856. It measured 824 tons, and it was built not by John Harley, but by two individuals known as Gibbs and Daly. Harley and Birchall built their ships in a number of different ways, and contracting work out to these two gentlemen, Mr. Gibbs and Mr. Tim Daly, was a good way to do this. So it meant that they didn't have to build quite as many ships themselves and have to supervise these directly. John Harley was then able to kind of supervise generally and work on specific vessels in a more hands-on way while trusting the work of other ships to these two men. So again, it was a ship that was very well received in the local media. The Gleaners said that it was had superior workmanship and fittings, and it was a real testament to the kind of work that was being done at the Harley and Birchall shipyard. So, in 1864, a ship called the Adriatic headed from London to New York. Now, of course, this was during the American Civil War, and unfortunately, it only made it as far as New Jersey, when it was captured by the Confederate States ship Tallahassee. It was unloaded, its passengers disembarked, and it was burned at sea. And for many years, we here at the Friends of Beaubears Island told the story about how the Adriatic built on Beaubears Island was burned in the course of the American Civil War. As it turned out, we were wrong. While the Adriatic was burned by the Confederate States ship Tallahassee in 1864, it wasn't our Adriatic. It was a different ship altogether, just it had the same name. So I guess we goofed a little bit. But through research, we found out what happened to our Adriatic. Unfortunately, it wasn't a whole lot better. Unfortunately, we found that the ship, unfortunately, was damaged and sold. So we'll get into that story. So a bit of mistaken identity on our part here, the two Adriatics. So our Adriatic, the Adriatic that was built on Beaubears Island, eventually was used in Liverpool to transport cargo. First, we know that in October 15th of 1856, it went to Liverpool with a load of timber and logs headed for a mill. It was later owned by the W. Thompson Company, and this company was founded in 1825 by two brothers, and eventually moved into transatlantic trade. And bought a number of ships. As a matter of fact, it also bought the Vicksburg, which we spoke about a few weeks ago. So, similarly to the Vicksburg, in July of 1882, Captain Thomas Gilmore set out for Quebec with a load of coal. Now, like the Vicksburg, as the Vicksburg would in a couple of years' time, the Adriatic headed through the Pentland Firth. But unlike the Vicksburg, he was able to make it through to the other side. The Adriatic did suffer a bit of damage, it did lose a couple of sails, but they were able to be replaced, and the voyage continued. Unfortunately, in early September, the ship struck a rock and was badly damaged while passing through the Straits of Belle Isle. And the 17 crew members were able to get off the ship, were able to make it to shore, and the steamer Cornwall brought them back to the UK about 14 days later. So about 2 weeks later, they were able to make it back. Now, the ship actually was sold. The captain undertook to sell the ship to 2 merchants in St. John's at that time. So there was, I guess, a little bit of suspicion as to what had just happened here. The ship was damaged. How had that happened? And how was it that the ship was sold by the captain at that time? So a Board of Trade inquiry was set up, and a very interesting inquiry it was. So Captain Gilmore put forward the idea that he had been through the Belle Isle Straits. It's on a number of occasions, 5 different occasions, and he felt that everything was fine. He had been advised by a local commissioner in Labrador that the ship was not salvageable, and so who decided to sell it at that time. He said that as far as he was aware, the ship had been safe right up until the point where it struck the rock. It had 12 feet of water, as he understood it. Forward had 36 feet of water to the stern. So it was in plenty of water. There was no reason to suspect any kind of nautical obstacle when that happened. He sold the ship for only $400, and that becomes a little more important as we go here. Because we find out afterward that William Thompson of Thompson and Company, he had spent $17,000 on the ship, had insured it for $3,000, and the cargo on board insured for $500. So again, that's a lot of money, and I mean, to sell it out from under him for only $400 is a little suspect for sure. Now, the first mate, James McClashen, in his testimony, did indicate that the captain, Thomas Gilmore, had gotten into the rum on board the Adriatic, and that the captain was and had been throughout most of the voyage under the influence of alcohol, once to the point where he actually had to be restrained and put to bed because he was in such a drunken state. So that definitely called into question the captain's conduct. Was the Adriatic safe at that time? David Sutty, a petty officer on board, indicated that First Mate McClashen also was under the influence of alcohol through most of the voyage. So we've got a crew here that, probably not operating on full capacity here, and definitely full of something. Operating while pretty full, perhaps we'll say. So this was definitely some harsh revelations at that time, and as a result, the Board of Inquiry ruled that the captain would have his license suspended for 6 months, and the first mate, James McClashen, would have his license suspended for 3. Now, they did take pity on the captain, and they said that if the captain wished to apply for a license as a first mate, they would encourage that license to be accepted. So again, the idea being that Captain Gilmore, not able to sail as a captain, denied those wages for half a year, could find himself in very dire financial straits. So they offered him a way out. Unfortunately, they didn't really offer James McClashen a way out similarly, but there you have it. So that was it. And that is the story, as we understand it, of the Adriatic, a ship that we thought had been burned at sea, and as a matter of fact had not been, but was severely damaged and sold in Newfoundland. So I think we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for taking this opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Adriatic with me. If you're enjoying these lectures, myself and Ken with the Living Island would very much appreciate you subscribing to this channel, liking these videos, and if you're able, to have a look at the sponsorship options spoken about in the description below. We've got a lot of great exclusive content on there if you're really interested and able to support us at the highest level. So please consider that, and when you're able, and if you're able, please come and visit us here on Beaubears Island and in the Nelson community. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. You will see Ken on the Living Island next week. Until then, do please take care. And for the days of yore, I've been Dr. Sean McCarthy. Thanks so much.